Okay, welcome back, PlayBASIC coders. It's been a long time since I've made anything, done anything, and there's a good reason for it. There's a few reasons for it actually, and I'll go into some of them today because I think it's important that people know what's happening behind the scenes. You might have heard me talk about having some problems with the form processing stuff on the page. I mentioned it a few times recently, and that is no joke. That has been the bane of my existence now for probably 6 weeks, probably maybe even 8 weeks. Some of that has been because other family or other life pressures have come in over the new year. Some things have changed in my personal life that have impacted this. Not an excuse, just a change has happened. I think last time I was showing you this stuff was that I'd gone through the old databases, updated the records, removed dead links, improved spent probably a couple of weeks improving all of that stuff. I felt pretty good about myself and decided to press ahead and make a form that could edit these articles. So we could remove the old editor and just update the new one, use all of the built-in features of the new code base. Great in theory, but there were some problems. The first problem I actually had was, I'll go back first, in case you haven't seen this stuff. I've added support for things like all of the basic things that news articles could have, right? So you've got a title, an author, a date, a category, where you can pre-select what categories this article relates to, so people can, rather than search for something, they can pick through the categories. Our article text itself, this is an article block in this case, for the form. And we've got some other things there. There's secondary category stuff there, which is I'm testing some alternate ideas, like maybe we just have a predefined list of categories and you sort of pick a category from here somewhere and add it and do that kind of stuff. That doesn't actually currently work because when I was doing this, I ran into some other stuff. Our image updating stuff does work, and this has moved mostly now to be in the browser, so that the management stuff here is occurring in the browser. You can change the pictures or whatever. You can add a picture if you wanted to add one. You've got to hit save to actually append it. Now I've got a record done there, and we can manage it as we wanted to before. Go up, go up, go up. You can't drag and drop them. That would be a bit more work for the JavaScript side, the client side of here. At the moment, I'm not prepared to do that. I just want to have it basically work so we can manage our order and hit close, and we're done. That's our article. So it supports pictures. We have pictures inside the bodies, and below we see a render of this, how it will look in the news page of the website. You might notice the template's different and our images here are a different size. I'll set the styling up so that when you're in this section and use an image tag, you'll be able to stretch it to be 100% of the width. So it'll work out the height based on that. These are a div anyway, so it shouldn't push the content around. So if you add an image that's way too large, it should just crop off at the side here. I'm not worried about that stuff. That's cosmetic things. They can be fixed whenever. What I was worried about is the editing process itself was just not working. In fact, none of it was working there for a while. Some things in the text here were breaking the phraser, and it was just doing my head in. Absolutely couldn't work out what was going on. It's kind of complicated to explain. If we have a look at this example here, You'll see I'm testing some things towards the bottom here. This code block here is, the styling for that is fixed width, so it's actually depends on the width of the original website's news section. But what that needs to be, obviously, is it needs to have a bit like this section here where it's a variable width, so it'll just adjust itself to that. So I'll make a container for this and that will fix that problem. But again, not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the editing process itself working. Beforehand, what was happening is if you missed a tag, if I remove that red tag there, for example, there's a red opening tag. So you wanted that message to be in red. Hit save. Now it's saying there's a missing red, which is good. That means the article's being processed for legal tags. So there's only certain tags you can use within an article body, which we didn't have before. This is a brand new thing. We don't have a JavaScript side of this, which means that at the moment when you hit save, the server's doing the validation, but that's fine. Down the bottom here, we see something new where we've got an error in here because we need this. We need it to error out and then render the rest of the page the best it possibly can. So here it's actually put red in bold, and inside that tag it's put a secondary character to prevent it from being rendered at some other point. Now, it's giving us an error saying our closing tag for red is unavailable. This was having those cascading problems where if you were using a paired tag like a red block or like a YouTube video or something like that, or a code block, and you miss this. So if we made a typo there, changed the PB code block to something else, it should give us an indication of that. Illegal, yeah, there's no idea what that actually is, but down here this should break and has broken the site. Right, it doesn't know what to do with that text properly. So the problem I was actually running into was, as I pulled the data for each record from where it's stored now and piped it into here, it needs to be in one format, and then down here it needs to be in a different format, and the two are colliding with each other. All this is working normally up until the point where you started to add tags that were not being closed correctly, and then if I did this and hit save, this would delete the record and create all kinds of weirdness that was just very strange at the time. Thankfully it hasn't deleted it, hasn't saved it either, so we haven't actually destroyed anything. And at the moment, when you do save anything, it actually creates a backup of the previous record, so you can't ask it to peel back an old one at the moment, but potentially that's something we could do, which would make the news site more like a wiki. There you go. So we are giving it unable to delete those. Like, we want to delete them, but we can't delete them because they don't actually exist on the server. So we probably should just ignore those things if they're impossible. See if that did save it. I don't think it did. No, it didn't. So that'll have to be fixed. But these errors here, very problematic. Just the amount of time that I've spent looking for these faults. There's a whole bunch of little tiny faults that are not immediately obvious. So all the data here from the old articles that all loaded and rendered fine. They were all imported correctly. They were all working. And if you went and saved these things here, there was no problems. And I just noticed at random when I was fiddling around with one page that it broke, and then I noticed other pages had the same problem and couldn't for the life of me work out what the hell was wrong. it turned out to be the encoding of the article as it's sent from here back to the server. And there's an assumption was made, and there's a bit of code that takes this text here and encodes this text into a form that the main page phraser will ignore these square brackets. That had to be rewritten because things like smiley faces, which don't use square brackets, would break it. These dumb things, you know. That's been solved, but there are other secondary problems because the way the old code base works, the parts of the code here that have syntax highlighting in them, they're taken from the forum when I wrote the highlighter for that years ago. This stuff here, so it'll actually highlight the PB code that's in a block. And the YouTube video stuff and the Vimeo and a few other ones that are still in that section of the code, I could just kind of patch together into one glue. It didn't really matter at the time because the site never had a live edit ability. It was just, I would edit the page and then it was either correct or it wasn't. Keep editing the page until it's done and then upload it, and that's what you saw. So there was no opportunity for it to go rogue and do weird things. But when we have a situation where users can add text and do things, there is a situation that there is scope there for errors to crop up. And they need to be trapped and dealt with accordingly. So we've got our error popping up, but in our display code at the bottom here, we've also got this error being here because we're editing and displaying this thing, which is, in retrospect, it's a terrible idea. I should never have done it this way. And the older content managers I wrote for 10 years ago, they don't work this way at all. It has one homogeneous block of how all of the tags work. You can do things like activate certain tags, remove certain tags, or have tags that are only available within certain subsets. So within something like an article block here, you could tag that. You could just tag articles being opened and then closed, and it would have a certain subset of these standard markup tags that were available to you. And it would handle if they're open, closed, errors, those kind of things all by itself. In this version, we can't do it that way because all of the old legacy of the website is based around this kind of display property rather than this edit property, or this kind of display bias, where it's just displaying information that you can't edit live. And that editing it live makes a big difference. But we've got, this is working now. This is something I could fix up these other stupid things like here. Let's display stuff here and trap more of this and move that code into clean it up, in other words, move it more into a generalized solution that would probably have fixed a lot of the problems I was having with anyway, but I was trying to avoid doing that because it's a big block of code, that phraser block on its own. This is the common tag phraser. So what do we got here? There's probably 4,000 lines of code in that. There's a bunch of lookup stuff that's hard coded into that. The form processing code is I don't know, a couple of 2,500 lines of that. What it has done is it's made the processing of these pages much simpler. This is what drives this particular page. We still need a custom bit of code to drive the page. We probably will always need that in this website, the way it's built up at the moment. There's too much legacy to go back and do to try and replace all of that today. But basically, when we get an article request come in, we grab it, get our action, load this thing if we can. Do we want to save it? If we do, we do a save process. We ask for verification. If it fails, we exit and we're done. We try and save it because even though the form might verify, the page itself might actually have some dodgy stuff in it or error, like we saw before with the attempting to delete a file that didn't exist, gave us an error. Then we just fall down through into the display process. So this is doing the refresh of the session, which handles this is mapping the loaded record to the form. So we've got a few things here. We've got a title, a date, an author, a gallery. We want the category and we want article. An article should be encoded in this form. So that's what this function here does. We've got the session type being passed in. Depending on how we want the page to be refreshed, do we want it to grab the article from the database again, or do we want to grab the live session data? And then that's handling the session stuff and the edit box stuff, and this is handling the display part at the bottom of the page. And that's pretty much it. We've got a few insertions and off we go. These are kind of standard really on most pages. The main sort of site actually has sort of one sort of fall through and sort of the same template, I guess you would call it. We're working out what page we're rendering, what specific actions we need to take, do those things, and then at the very end we just call the template builder to build the page as it's been generated across this frame. This inserts a bit of client-side JavaScript to actually do the display aspect we're looking at before. Yeah. So this actually inserts the pictures, does the thumbnails, the editor there's a bit of JavaScript. Got a pop-up close thing, very simple, up and down, delete, whatever. Hit close. So there's just been the absolute worst lately for getting this shit to work. I was really pushed to the brink. I just could not work out what was faulty. And eventually I worked out, it came down to the encoding method I was using to encode this blob here so that this blob here could be rendered correctly. It all worked perfectly fine by itself, but once you encoded this thing, did a partial edit, and if you left a tag out and hit submit, it just broke. A bunch of the white space characters were breaking it, even though I thought they were encoded already. Obviously they weren't being, and that was the problem. It just turned out that this thing I thought was already happening wasn't happening. And in the test code, when you ran and viewed the page, it didn't matter until you went and tried to save this thing. There was an error where it needed to preserve the new code and the new text and the old text. And that's where there's weird changes, there's weird differences were popping up. And initially I noticed that you'd hit save and the article would like lose a block. There's a bunch of text at the end that would get dropped off, and then you'd end up just flushing out, the whole thing would just break. So it's not been a fun time. working on this has not been fun. In terms of what I was saying before about the whole personal thing, yeah, well, I guess we could talk about that stuff there. I was single for quite a while. Now I'm not single, so that's been cool, interesting. It has put some more stress on this project and trying to work out now a more realistic timeline to get this thing built. Like I wanted to have all of the category selectors, the article, the tool belt here, like you have in the forums, for example, a bunch of icons or even just buttons at this point, where you could just, grab something like that, hit, insert YouTube or whatever, and it would do those things for you, as well as a bit of code there. For the moment, I don't think it matters that much that they're not there, but it will have to have those things when these kind of features go live to people. That will be imperative, I would think. I can't give you a timeline. I don't know what's happening with anything right now. I'm just happy this is working. I was having such a bad time with this. I really was almost ready to just go, nah, I'll just revert back to what it was before. Sick of it. And that almost never happens with me. I mean, things like the date here, it'd be nice to have like a modal pop up where you could just pick, like a little calendar would pop up, you could select the date, and these need to be all the same width so they kind of look like they're all the same family. This stuff here is, the width is determined by the existing layout, which is that thin, narrow layout we've had for years. That will be the next challenge after we get this data problem sorted, and once I can edit the news properly, I can then do the source code forum, so I can do the source code board, the tutorial board the same way, and we can stick the the search features online. That's what this is all about. Initially getting the search features, getting rid of the dead links, making the content feel like it's more alive by adding, updated videos or pictures, which I've done a lot of that stuff in recent times. You might have seen me posting videos onto Facebook or whatever and going, why is he posting some old crap? Well, I'm posting those things because I probably found an old bit of, a mention of it in here. Thought, well, isn't it nice to have a video about those things and make a quick video of those things and stick them up? Yeah, so the general navigation of these pages works kind of well. Just got to pick through and do whatever you want. It's much easier to work with than what it used to be. It all had a drop down. The back control needs to be up the top here, I would say. Yeah. Let's have a look. Okay. Oh, sorry, just making sure that it didn't save that, even though there was an error in it. Just how we got ourselves in the stupid problems we did before. If I hit save. Now, if I put like YouTube in there, I can open YouTube block and add no video link. What we'd probably get, even though this won't save, is at the bottom, it will try and insert. That's what I want to fix. So in the phraser itself, it needs to go, no, this is a broken link, do not insert this, insert an error message and do this kind of thing to those things there. So when you do render it out and see it, you go, oh, that's the thing that's broken, and it doesn't take the rest of the site down with it, which was a problem there beforehand. You could have a cascading problem occur where an open block was in one location and then it would try and phrase the rest, but then it would chew off the data itself. Yeah, it hasn't saved that, which is good. If you're curious, you put the video ID, in here, by the way, between those things, and save them. We're still missing the green tag, are we? It would be nice if it took you back to where that tag is. I know what you're thinking, and that's what I was thinking as well. And I can do this response back through the form validation code. But that's another bridge beyond where we are, and I was focusing on just making sure the data reading and writing was working. What I didn't want is to have this thing out there doing stuff, and then if people sending me messages going, "Oh, the thing chewed up my, I lost my long post or whatever," that would suck. All right, so we did save, but this article here won't render because the video ID I gave it's just garbage. Alrighty, so it works. I can't believe I'm saying it actually works, but it does actually work. It means I can push on, and even if this editing page here is not fantastic, I could get the display here up and running, and then we can put that to the public version and then get it out there and do some stuff. Wouldn't that be fun, eh? Alright, I'm pretty sick of talking about this crap. I cannot believe this has consumed my life for the last 2 months. I'm sure most people just don't really understand how much time and effort these things take. The videos and things I've been making lately have been done within half an hour, that kind of process. A quick capture, a quick edit, upload, there you go. To try and keep those things turning over, so there's something occurring. Thanks to the guys who are still making things on the forums, doing those things. It's greatly appreciated, as always. But it means it's pushed back the compiler project itself yet again, all the same crap, I thought I'd be knee deep in the guts of it over the summer, and we barely even touched the preprocessor at this time. It's just how things go. Sometimes things just don't go the way you want them to. Anyway, nonetheless, I've got some time coming up soon. Next week in particular, I've got a bunch of time. So we should be able to get more of this done, hopefully get it to a point where it's reliable, where it's proved to be reliable. It's been running without error now for pretty much the last couple of sessions. Once I worked out what the fault was, it was like, oh, okay, we can fix those. I'm hoping there's no other hidden faults in that same vein. So that will require a bit more testing, but shouldn't be that difficult to trap those things if they do occur. This category thing here was what I was adding the other day, adding weeks ago now. This is the emulated version of the category, and this is the actual category that's actually in use, which is just a text field. What will actually happen is you won't be able to edit this at all. You'll just be able to, I think maybe a button cloud there might be better. You just pick like the buttons you want to add or whatever, or you switch them on, switch them off, so you can't, because up here you can just do 3D twice or something like that. Then this code has to phrase out the unique tags. It's just more work the back end has to do for stuff. It's like, do I really give a crap about that? Probably not. That's interesting. It didn't even save that. But yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon. Hopefully sooner than later, and get this crap up on the website and get it all done. Won't that be fun? Hey.